Hello, hello.
I'm early. Sorry about
Don't,
that.
don't worry at all. Let me just switch this window down so we don't get any feedback. How are you?
Good, good. Really excited about this.
Me too.
Yeah, I know I have Lego Serious Players are the best thing about COVID, as far as I'm concerned.
Tell me more.
Because I think if it hadn't been for COVID, then I wouldn't have been using other Zooms. And I got to know about this through a lady called Lucy Hare, who knew Anat, and she told me that Anat was doing these. It came up in a conversation, a supervision or something. And then I met Anat, who has introduced me to all of this, and I just love her for it. It's just been brilliant.
Fantastic. Where are you based? Where are you?
I'm near Guildford.
Oh, are you?
Mm.
Yeah, I know that part of the world well.
So we're in a little village called West Horsley.
Oh, I know West Horsley. Yeah.
You know, no, really. Did you do stuff at the Lovelace? There's a big seminar place in East Horsley, no?
No, I didn't. No. I know that part of the world because my son lives in Guildford.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I sort of obviously go to Guildford a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a nice place. It's a good place.
Yeah. So are you trained in Lego Serious Play?
Well, no. I sort of feel that I've come in at a halfway point. So I'm actually a coach.
Yeah.
I'm not any of these, work things. I'm not a business person.
Well, coaching is work.
No, coaching is work. But I mean like businesses and meetings and seminars, and I don't understand about strategic planning, and all of that is a complete lost book. So I trained with Barefoot about 5 years ago.
Oh, was that with John?
No, I trained with Kim, but I know John Perry, but I also know John McNestry.
John McNestry, yes. He trained with Barefoot, I think, didn't he?
Yes, yeah, he did.
And he does a lot of work with Lego for coaching.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm doing his course at the end of November.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, so that's my sort of first proper course. So I've done lots with Anat, and we do this happy hour every Friday. So I'm sort of learning, and I went on the LSP Connect little seminar thing we had. So yeah, that's how I've got into it. And I'm starting up a practice. I've only just come back to living in this country, so I'm starting to set up a practice. So I'm just really interested in how it will work for me.
Great.
Yeah. But you're not a coach, right?
No, I'm not trained as a coach. It's funny. I sort of some people have sort of said you have a very coaching kind of style, but I don't really even know enough about coaching to know whether that's true or not. I definitely haven't been trained as a coach. I think there's probably a sort of a set of ideological or philosophical connections between those of us that think of ourselves as facilitators and those who think of themselves as coaches. We probably have a sort of a common core of approaches and ideas. I've sort of sometimes thought about getting trained as a coach, but sort of I've thought about doing some kind of professional development next year.
Right.
I'm thinking about doing maybe another master's of some kind.
Right.
So yeah, no, I'm not. I'm definitely not a coach. I am for sure a facilitator.
I mean, I did, after doing my Barefoot training, I then went on and got my master's in coaching from Chester.
Yeah.
But what was quite interesting, I did really enjoy my Barefoot training, and what I found is it gave you so many actually really practical and useful ways of becoming a coach, of answering the question. But I agree. I mean, basically what you do as a coach is you ask a question, you get the person to talk to you, so you ask the challenge question, you let them build up in their mind, and then you reflect on it and hopefully move them forward, which is, I think that's why I find the link. Hi, Anat.
Hey.
I think that's why I find the link
Sean.
so good between coaching and Lego.
Welcome, Anat. We haven't met before properly,
Not
have we?
properly, no. We've only met off the pages of LinkedIn. So lovely to see you there. And it's Anat, like a hat.
Anat.
It's Anat.
Anat has a hat. Thank you very much. I think, you know, that I think this is going to be it. I think there'll be 3 of us today.
Lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Michelle and Will both sent messages today saying something's come up, and I said if you can come. If you can't come, don't come.
Okay.
So we're small and intimate, and here's my fireside.
Oh, I was just going to ask you where it is.
Here it is.
I'm almost feeling I should turn my screen so that you can see my bookshelf as well. You're all looking very studious behind your.
Just because I've got a very small room and a small house, and this is all our books.
It's only because I'm really old and I've got.
Where are you, Sean? You look like you're in some sort of school or.
It's my flat.
Oh my God.
So I've lived here for 20 years.
Huge windows.
It's a loft overlooking the canal in Islington.
Oh,
it's
right.
been home for a very long time, but it's also my office, so it's home and office.
Brilliant. I think I've paddled that canal.
I bet you have.
On my paddleboard, yeah.
Next time you're paddling, do you know the Narrowboat pub?
Yeah.
So just a bit further down from the Narrowboat pub, white building.
Yeah.
Shout Sean, and if the windows are open, I'll come.
I love a little flag. Yeah.
We'll have to have a little Lego person on your flag.
Oh, I'm not short of those, of course. I've got plenty of Lego people. Well, listen. First of all, thank you for both for coming. I mean, as you probably saw from my LinkedIn post today, here's the plan.
Love it.
Objective answer questions, process introductions. We don't really need to do that because you know each other.
Yeah.
Questions and answers.
We don't know, you know.
Well, do you want to know anything about me?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Of course we do. I'd like, first question to kick you off is, how did you get into Lego Serious Play?
That's a very easy and lovely answer. So I'm a facilitator, and I've been running a little facilitation business for 15 years or so now. Mm-hmm. And about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I went to an International Association of Facilitators conference in Copenhagen. And the IAF, I'm a big fan of the IAF. They do fantastic work. And their conference there, they had a wonderful lady called Camilla Jensen, a Danish woman, running an introduction to Lego Serious Play. I'm just grappling for a book. So this is Camilla. Let me show you her photograph. And Camilla ran a 2-hour session. This is Camilla. On there.
At the top one. Yeah. Lovely.
So Camilla just ran a 2-hour introduction to Lego Serious Play demo session, as there were lots of demos of lots of techniques at the IAF conference. And I was totally sold. I left that session thinking, why didn't I know about this before? This is a brilliant method. I am going to now immediately go and learn how to do it. So that was how I discovered the technique about 6 or 7 years ago. And I think it's an absolutely fantastic tool.
Yeah. Is it a bit like Marmite? Do you find there's some people who really don't get it, or most people that meet it love it? Have you ever had people going?
I tell you what I do, and I think this is a really good little technique. At the beginning of a workshop, you see the body language, right? If you come across this pile of bricks, I often say to a group, is anybody feeling a bit skeptical about this? And usually 1 or 2 brave people put their hands up and they're like, yeah, I'm not sure about this. And what I do is I sort of say, your skepticism is really welcome. It's okay. It's really normal to feel that way. There's, Lego play, it is a bit odd. Lend me half an hour of goodwill. Just lend me half an hour of goodwill, and let's see whether this is better or different to what you might think it would be. And what I find is that if we take people through the skills build really beautifully, they discover it's a very democratic process. They discover that it's creative and it's fun. They discover that people listen to each other more deeply. They discover that time flies. And then I usually go back and sort of say, so how are the skeptics doing? And usually one person is brave enough to say, there was a wonderful workshop I ran for the Canal and River Trust. And this lady, I said, how are the skeptics doing? She said, you know what? This isn't as naff as I thought it would be. So
Yeah, interesting.
I think the Marmite thing is interesting. I think some people can be a bit unsure.
I think just building on that, and I think the other interesting thing is, I mean, I have to give a shout out here to Theresa Quinn, who introduced me to Lego Serious Play, and she just came along to an afternoon showcasing what people who'd graduated from the positive, I think it's a master's in positive psychology. So they'd all graduated and they're all doing different things. And this was her research. And I'm thinking there were other people in that room who thought, wow, this is a wonderful technique. But I was the only facilitator to kind of say, right, a bit like you, Sean, I really want to learn more about this technique, and I really want to facilitate with it. I think it has a great place in the coaching arena. And out of all the people in the room, other facilitators, I was actually the only one to go and do that. So I do wonder, Anne, you know, what you're saying. I think for some people, maybe like Sean and I, will see the immediate kind of value, benefit, appeal. I mean, if nothing else, for our own curiosity, just to satisfy our own inquisitive mind and quest for learning, it's worth doing the training, I think. But it is interesting who takes it up, because I've also trained other people. So it is interesting to see who takes it up and uses it in their own practice, and who just leaves it as okay, this was a nice tool to learn about. That's where it stops.
Yeah.
How many people were in the room, Anat, when you know Theresa introduced it and you ran with it? Were there sort of 50 people or 20?
No, I mean, it was an intimate group of 8, but, you know, people were 8 or 10. People were very enthusiastic about it, and they left talking about it. But nobody else actually took it up. In fact, one of my friends was there, and I ended up training her in one of my training courses. But yeah, it is interesting.
I mean, you used to do those taster sessions. I got on, I think, one of your last ones. How many people who did those actually carried on and comes to your happy hour?
That's a very good question. Not many. Yeah, again, some people said, wow, this is a lovely, lovely tool. Thank you for introducing it to us. But yeah, it was, for them, it was a mindful way to spend an hour, not necessarily maybe something that they will get somebody else to introduce to their team, but they weren't interested in taking it further themselves. So it is interesting. I think the other thing, Sean, is that we probably underestimate when we do run a session, it looks so easy, and it's not really. If you haven't, you know, if you're not a facilitator and you're not a coach, you then have to learn how to do that on top of you know, the Lego Serious Play. So it is a bit of a leap.
I agree. It is a bit like some people have talked to me about a bit like a sort of a goose or a duck. On the surface, it's looking very sort of smooth. Underneath, the legs are going kind of furiously. And actually, I've come to believe that success with the use of the Lego Serious Play method, success is actually doesn't happen in the facilitation. Success is defined in the prep stage. Turning up and facilitating, I think there are some things that we should and shouldn't do, and there are definitely good and bad facilitation practices. But if you get the prep wrong, helping people answer the wrong question.
Oh God, it's all in that build question, isn't it? You have to really work hard to get that build question right.
I mean, build question design is one of the things that we teach on our particular training, because it's so much harder than it looks. And even one word in a build question can have a fundamental impact in terms of how people interpret it. The other thing that we think about is the logic between the objective of the session, the build question that supports that objective, and then the reflection question. And actually, I think success is to align those three. You've got to have a really super clear objective. you've got to have a build question that will help people explore that objective or topic. But generally, in my experience, the build and the share is not the time that we nail the objective, it's the reflection stage afterwards. So the reflection question design is just as important as the build question design. And that's a whole massive move on from how I learnt it 6 years ago. That was not part of the narrative as we were taught it. But I've come to believe that those 3 steps are really important.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I see as not a facilitator, but as a personal coach, when you're dealing with one person, I mean, you do have some idea sometimes of what the person is coming to. As I say, I'm not a career coach. It's usually actually personal things, but often you don't know. So coming up with that question anyway is quite exciting during a session, because they sometimes throw you curveballs and you suddenly, oh, this is what you want to talk about? All these questions, all this revision that I've done before. It's like, oh, okay, fine, we're on this. So you have to think on your toes. But then the phrasing the question to get them to think.
Yeah. We've got a lovely turn of phrase, a bit like thinking on your toes. One of our mantras is facilitate the people, not the process. So prepare really thoroughly and turn up with an absolutely clear plan, but do not be a slave to the plan.
Yeah.
Facilitate the people. So if something happens and in your plan you've got a step 2, but the group don't need step 2, then don't facilitate the process, facilitate the people. Thinking on your toes.
Yeah, we call it hold your plan lightly.
Exactly. Same thing.
Yeah.
So, Sean, who is we? You're talking about we a lot. So who is we?
That's a good question. So we is me and my associates in our little business. So we started training in Lego Serious Play 3 years ago. My colleague Jens is somewhere here, and he's sort of lurking invisibly. So Jens runs our training in Germany, and Jens translated our first book into German. So this book is now available in German. Jens has just completed the translation of our second book.
It's just come out. Woohoo!
No, that's our third one.
Oh, right.
So Jens is now working on our third one. And then we've got Hector in South America. We've got Mia in North America. We've got Miriami in Finland. And we're developing a relationship with 2 lovely people in China at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So we're
really?
sort of,
global.
Well, yeah, we're trying to we think we've got a really good model, and we're trying to allow access to that model in different languages. So that's kind of, Jens has just sent me a WhatsApp message. He says, say hi from me. Hi, Jens.
I was just thinking, Sean, you could almost do your book launch on this fireside, just kind of plug your third book and just tell us about it.
Well, I mean, the story, this is the sort of, the online book is the story of the book that was never intended to be written. I mean, in March, we launched our second book, Mastering, and that was it for the year. No more books for 20. And then, of course, COVID comes along.
Yeah.
And much like, most of the rest of the Lego Serious Play world, not everyone, but if you had asked me in February, could you do Lego Serious Play online? I would have said, nah, forget it.
Yeah.
And then, COVID comes along, and we set aside our biases, and we set out to say, well, what is possible? Obviously, individual model storytelling is relatively easy online. People build a model and they hold it to the camera and they talk it through. The big question that we were grappling with is, how do you facilitate a shared model online? Because with the traditional Lego Serious Play method, the face-to-face method, you can't see how it would work. But we've developed some really effective techniques, which follows exactly the same sort of principles of Lego Serious Play. People build an individual model, they pull them apart, they disaggregate them, we photograph them, we upload them to a whiteboard, the facilitator rebuilds all of the components, and then the facilitator is the magic hands and builds the master model on behalf of the group.
Wow.
So it's shared model building online is absolutely not a problem. In fact, the online techniques that we've developed are being used in face-to-face settings for COVID-safe shared model building.
Oh, wow. That's great.
You can get a group of people sitting around a table with a mask on. They build an individual model. They tell the story of the model. The facilitator then rebuilds all of the models around the table. So only one set of bricks on the bricks. He or she will then have a base plate with all of the individual models around it. And then the participants will say, hey, take that sort of minifigure head and stick it in the middle of the base plate. So the facilitator picks it up and puts it in the base plate. So it's nobody touching each other's bricks.
Amazing. Yeah.
So you can facilitate shared models online, face-to-face, COVID safe.
Yeah. So Sean, who are your workshops aimed at? I mean, your workshops that you offer to teams and corporates. What's the flavor? What is it that you're solving? And just interested who your customers are and what you solve for them with Lego Serious Play.
Yeah, so I'll make a really good distinction actually. So we run essentially two businesses. Right. Our facilitation business is called ProMeet, Professional Meetings. Mm-hmm. And we are first and foremost practitioners. We're first and foremost facilitators. We're not first and foremost Lego Serious Play facilitators. We are first and foremost facilitators. We happen to also run a training business. Yeah. Where we teach people the Lego Serious Play method and only the Lego Serious Play method, but with a facilitation bent. So in ProMeet, if you look at our ProMeet website, we've worked with pretty much every type of client you can possibly imagine, from large government organizations to small charities, to large banks, to startups, to educational institutes, to charities. Let me tell you a nice little anecdote. So I was asked whether I'd do some work for the related to the National Infrastructure Commission. And the chief executive knew I was a Lego Serious Play facilitator, and he was very, he didn't want to use Lego Serious Play. Yeah. And he sat me down and he said to me, he said, Sean, are you wedded to any particular method or technique? And I said to him, I'm wedded to workshops that achieve outcomes. Mm-hmm. I am process neutral. And at that point, the contract was won, because he knew that I wasn't going to ram any particular method down his throat.
So percentage-wise, how many of your facilitating is done with Lego and how much is done in other ways?
I think probably if we look through the history of the business, given the fact that I've only been using this method for 6 years or so, it would probably be across all of assignments, 25%.
Okay.
These days, of course, having written a couple of books about it, and coming up quite, for sort of searches, it's definitely more than half. But I think that's where the preparation stage is so vital, because clients don't want to buy a process, they want to buy an outcome.
Yeah.
So therefore, if we as facilitators go to a client and push up, hey client, what you need is an open space workshop. Well, hang on a sec, that may not achieve my objectives.
Yeah.
If an open space technology workshop will help them achieve their objectives, then let's use open space. If, hey client, what you need is a world cafe. I'm a world cafe expert. Let me sell you a world cafe. Wrong way round.
Yeah.
We always start by saying to the client, well, you don't want a workshop. You don't want a meeting. You want an outcome. So let's talk about the outcome. What do you want to have achieved as a result of that? And then once we're clear on the objectives, we can then sort of say which process tools are the right tools for helping you achieve that objective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make sense. I wanted to ask you if you knew this question. Do you know how Lego chose the pieces for their different Lego Serious Play sets? I mean, was there a real sort of thought process involved in why they have a big blue Duplo one? And
that is a brilliant question, and I do not have an answer. I think I know where to go to try to find the answer. And, you know, I have had the same thought, you know. What's interesting is in the last LSP Connect event, there was quite a lot of conversation about yellow minifigures and the lack of diversity.
Yes.
So I think given the fact that these kits were sort of assembled and designed nearly 20 years ago, there is almost an argument or a case to say the 4 core Lego Serious Play kits could do with updating.
Yeah.
I would love to work with a group of people to design, you know, a new Windows kit, similar size kit, you know, this number of bricks in a little bag.
Yeah.
You know, what would the future starter kit be, or an alternative starter kit, if we could have 214 pieces or whatever's in this thing?
Yeah.
What new bits might we put in it? How would we represent diversity and disability and, you know, gender? I mean, I've bought a lot of the Friends minifigures, the more feminine minifigures.
Yeah.
All right.
You know,
Somebody was talking about that before. Yeah, I haven't seen those.
So depending upon the workshop that I'm doing, I might turn up with a different set of bricks. If gender and skin color is more important. But I don't know the answer.
I was quite surprised because I always felt the yellow brick was really quite a nondescript. You couldn't genderify it, you couldn't race. It was, and I was quite surprised how many people felt actively quite strongly against the yellow one.
It's quite masculine.
I went to one of their lectures, you know, over the early stages. The Lego company actually did a tour of their museum, and they were talking, they went right back to the beginning, and they were talking about the yellow figures and just how long it took them to decide on the color, and exactly as you're highlighting, that they were it was decided 20 or so years ago that this was yellow would be representative of everyone. It wasn't kind of leaning in one way or another. Although there are some different colors now, I think.
There are, absolutely.
Yeah. So they did think about it. All credit to them at the time.
No, I know that. And,
bricks,
you know,
I just thought was so bizarre, like this one. And it just like somebody must have thought in the middle of all the little bits and pieces and the connections, like suddenly these 2 very large bricks.
Yeah, those are the Jupiter bricks, of course.
Yeah, that's right. I found it quite interesting that they must have done that.
That's a really good question, Anne, and one that merits sort of a bit of further investigation, I think.
Knowing Lego, they most probably had a very detailed thought process.
For sure, absolutely.
Into why they did that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you, Sean, like for me, so I'm a coach, I'm not going to ever be a facilitator in big teams. What is the best way for me to train up? Because a lot of the books are for people doing big trainings and facilitating companies and you know, a lot of it, some of it's very important, but some of it is just not relevant for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the not relevant for me really nails the sort of the important part of the question. If we wind the clock back, when Lego originally trained, if you went to learn this method pre-2010, you would attend a 5-day training at Lego, and they would teach you their particular, you know, formula for it, including the systems real-time strategy stuff. So when people build system models and facilitate real-time strategy, that's what we call sort of systems applications. When we came to design our training, we thought that, honestly, most people never facilitate real-time strategy. So most people don't get to build system models. They don't need to, they don't want to. So we carved our training up into 1, 2, and 4-day blocks, so people could learn the bit that they wanted. I think it's also worth saying that you don't need to attend a training to learn the method. You can read the open source guide in detail.
you can attend, what observe others. It depends upon the type of learner you are and the type of experience that you've got. So even though I run a training company and we train people, I don't think everybody needs to attend a training. If you're the kind of learner who can learn from translating propositional knowledge into experiential knowledge, and many people are quite good at that, then, reading a book and, having some experiments might be enough. If you're the kind of person that learns best by doing, then attending a training can be a good thing to do if the training affords you opportunities to do.
Yes.
Many of the trainings don't afford you an opportunity to do. You attend as a participant, not as a facilitator. In our training, we turned the model on its head, and we have the students do most of the facilitation. So our training is practice-based. We want you to facilitate, not me. I don't want to teach you to be a participant. I want to teach you to be a facilitator. I think the other really important question to ask yourself is, what kind of build level applications will you be facilitating? If you're going to be running mostly one-to-one sessions with mostly individual model building, then you don't need to learn how to facilitate system models.
Yeah, exactly.
End of. If you're going to be doing work one-to-one, you probably don't even need to learn how to facilitate shared model building, because you're doing work one-to-one. So therefore you don't need to work out how to facilitate the group dynamic. So I think that that's the most important question, to learn the skills that you will be using in the real world, rather than those that the training model itself sort of forces upon you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's sort of exactly how I feel. And I don't want to do a whole training with stuff that is of no importance to me. But I want to learn more and more about it. I do love the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, from what you've said of your own practice, I would suggest you attend a one-day training to learn how to facilitate build level 1.
So can you tell us about your courses then, Sean? Can you tell us what a little bit about your training courses and what the difference is? I'd be very interested to.
Yeah, so we've split our trainings up into sort of various lengths. So we have a one-day training. At the moment, it's only online for individual model building.
Yeah.
And the aim is to teach people how to design, prepare, and facilitate workshops where people are only building individual models.
Love it.
Our 2-day programs focus on helping people learn how to facilitate shared models.
Right.
Here's a shared model that we built in a training we ran this week. So build level 1 is easier to facilitate than build level 2, and build level 2 requires a bit more time and a bit more input. And then for those people who are doing applications where they want to explore systems, we run advanced training.
Right.
We typically advise people to take an advanced training 6 months or a year after they've done build level 1 and build level 2. When people are unconsciously competent at the basics, they've got headspace for the advanced stuff. And we run the advanced trainings in 1- and 2-day blocks. And therefore we don't want to teach people how to facilitate an individual model build. So, I want to be able to pick somebody from the group and say, Anat, please would you facilitate this round of agents?
Yeah.
And you can just pick it up and go. You don't need to be taught how to run that process because you already know.
Yeah.
So we've split it into different modules. And since we've been online, we train build level 1 and build level 2 online. Right now, I'm in a project where I'm investigating system model building online, and we don't know how to train that online yet because we haven't done it. But that's my big project for next year.
Yeah. Wow.
Exciting.
So we've had a question live from the universe. We are obviously being watched. So Camilla, the lovely Camilla Gordon, who's one of our guests.
She must have heard you.
She says, very interesting question. I wonder what a build your own kit would look like. Build your own kit. I think that's referring back to what would be in our perfect Windows kit or starter kit?
Ah.
I don't think we can answer that now, Camilla. That's a really big question, but I'll take it as a homework task.
How many pieces is the ideal number of pieces?
I think I would replicate. I think that the sort of 48 bricks in a Windows kit is great.
Yeah.
They cost about £3.15. I tell you what we did with University of Exeter. We've done some training with those guys. We said to them, you can't buy a Windows kit separate bag. You have to buy 100 bags.
That's right.
Instead, what we did was we used the Unikitty kit. So if you go to the Lego Unikitty.
Unikitty. Okay.
Unikitty. So Lego sell a kit called Unikitty, which is a bit of a combination of a unicorn and a cat. Unikitty.
Oh, brilliant.
And it costs about £3.15. And it's got almost the same number of bricks in as the Windows kit. So, you can substitute the Windows kit for £3.14 for the Unikitty kit.
Have we got one there?
So
yeah.
Do you know I have? I can find one. 1 second.
Unikitty Kit. You can't say that after a couple of glasses of wine, can you?
Unikitty, yeah. A kitty uni.
I thought it was uni like university.
I know.
So this is the Unikitty kit.
Oh.
Unikitty, brilliant. Brilliant, love it, thank you.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful blog article written by David Gauntlet. David Gauntlet was one of the guys that wrote the open source guide back in 2010. So he's a sort of a really, really key part of the history of the method. And he wrote a fantastic blog post about building with small kits. Back in about 5 or 6 years ago, you could buy a little kit called the Browns Bear River kit. And it was a tiny little bag. And it had a bear and a fish and some sort of water figures and tree figures. And you could use that absolutely in place of a Windows kit. So giving people a limited brick selection, you don't need, 1,000 bricks. A little tiny kit of bricks is quite enough, particularly for one-on-one coaching and the kind of work that you would be doing, Anne.
Yeah. So yes, now I can see that. And
sometimes
I should look into the Unikitty Kit.
Yeah. Sometimes less is actually more. I had a lovely lady show up at one of my sessions, and all she had at home was her son's Liverpool football kit.
I remember that.
So do you remember her? So all she had was white and red bricks. And the metaphors that she was using, it was just incredible. The level of just how much we managed to explore with just 2 colors. It was incredible.
And no fancy bricks. They were just the 1, the 2,
very
the 3.
simple. And just so many metaphors in her model. It was just wonderful. I
often think about that session, actually.
It was very memorable. I'd have to drop her a line to see what happened to her.
Jens has just sent me a message saying that we should wrap up in 5 or 10 minutes, and he's absolutely right. But let me just also share with you a story which is just even almost better than that. So here's a photograph from the book of a training that we ran. And the bricks hadn't shown up in time. And this particular lady just got some kitchen bag clips, some vitamin pots. And this is a model of her dream holiday.
Oh my God.
So you can see the waves rolling into the shore with the yellow sand in the background.
Oh, wow.
And the orange sun. So it turns out you don't even need Lego bricks to run a Lego Serious Play workshop.
No, gosh.
That simplifies our exploration bag even more then, doesn't it?
Yeah. Listen, I want to make sure that we've got any burning questions answered before we bring our first fireside chat to a Friday evening end.
Has anybody else written any?
Sorry, Anne, did you say?
Has anybody from outside written any? I'm just going through all my questions to see if I'd answered them all. But
Jens has made a point. So he said, no, there are no further questions, but he also uses highlighter pens in place of bricks.
Oh, nice.
Bright colours.
It'd be nice to know when your next courses are.
Oh, I should have had an answer to that prepared, shouldn't I?
Helen will be gnashing. I should have known an answer to that.
Your 2-day one sounds good.
We have one spot left on a 2-day training in November. 1 second, I'll tell you the dates. And we may run another one in December.
How many people do you have on your courses?
Maximum of 6.
Oh, no.
Right. So they're quite short. So
the reason we have only 6 people is because they're practice-based. Yeah. And we want to have enough opportunities for people to practice the skills that we're teaching. Mm-hmm. The next 2-day course is, when is it? 25th and 26th of November. Mm. For you, Anne, I think a 1-day training, if you wanted to do it, would be better. Yeah. And I'll take some dates out and email you a bit later, because I think
that would be great. So,
and you know, you could also start with a 1-day, learn the individual model building, and then if you needed to learn the shared model building, learn it later.
I can do it. And this is my burning question as somebody with severe imposter syndrome. At what point can I call myself a facilitator of a Lego Serious Play on my CV?
You know, that's a really great question, and it's a big question. I'm going to go to the far end of answering that. Right now, the International Association of Facilitators are working on a project to create a competency-based framework assessed by peers to give certified Lego Serious Play facilitators a competency-based certificate. So I think maybe in a year's time, that will be the gold standard. Mm-hmm. People who can evidence using the 6 core competencies on the IAF website and are certified professional facilitators. At the other end, anybody who finishes a training course gets a certificate, and most people call themselves a certified Lego Serious Play facilitator. Mm-hmm. So we have a bit of a problem in a way, because there are a lot of people finishing a training calling themselves certified without necessarily the sort of the confidence to back it up. I think that's why in our training model, giving people opportunities to practice means that they leave the training with the confidence to go immediately into practice. With the imposter syndrome, I mean, it's really your call. Yeah. You want your new clients to hire you so that you've got opportunities to practice, but you don't want to get in over your head where you find yourself in a situation.
And it's also more like, as not that many people, coaches that I know do it. It's nice, you know, it's nice to tell people this is what I do, you know, it's a creative thing. It's something a bit different, but I don't want people saying, well, you've not got a qualification from Lego or whatever. You're not really a certified Lego.
You know, I think working with John McNestry is the best thing you can do. I mean, John is a very, very competent Lego Serious Play facilitator, and is, you know, and a very experienced coach with Lego. So I feel confident that you will finish his training and feel good to go.
Feel good, and then do your 1-day training.
Well, you may not need to. You may not need to. You may feel as though you've got enough. I haven't done John's course, and I should probably find out more about it, but he is definitely one of the good guys. Yeah. You know, there are a few sort of slight charlatans in this community, but John is not one of them. He is one of the good guys. So you are in safe hands with John, I think.
Right. It's a great course. I did it earlier on in the year as a coach, and John facilitates on the barefoot coaching, executive coaching course. So that's how I came across him.
All right.
And you will find his application really, really useful for coaching, and he'll even give you one of his famous postcard certificates that you've attended his course. So that will satisfy your need for a certificate. But yeah, as Sean rightly says, I think that's a great it will give you a great toolkit to take forward for your coaching practice.
No. And I think that practice after training is absolutely the key. For me, after I trained, I ran a Lego Serious Play workshop every week. Wow. One a week, every week for 8 weeks.
I ran them in my flat. I set up a Lego Serious Play meetup group. I got a sort of a funnel full of people wanting to find out about it. And I just ran one a week. A bit like when you learn to drive a car, you want to be able to change gear without thinking about it. Yeah. You want to become unconsciously competent. So after you have trained with John, the best thing you can do is practice, so that you become unconsciously competent.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. It's a bit like when you first train as a coach. I did a lot of pro bono work just to practice, and cornered my family and cornered friends. You do want a coaching session, don't you?
Absolutely.
So they're now going to have to do it all over again with Lego.
Well, lucky them, I say. Well, listen, we should stick to our timing. This is our first fireside chat. My candle smells lovely, so my flat is smelling a little bit sort of festive. I want you both hugely for coming to our first fireside chat. It's just lovely to sort of, as the sun is going down, to finish the week with a little bit of chat and reflections on the method that we all love.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for
thank you so much
creating it, and I do feel warm inside already.
Well, I saw you took your puffer off, so that was a good sign.
There you go. Your fireside is working on more levels than one.
Excellent.
Well, listen, have a lovely weekend, and I look forward to crossing paths, probably at an LSP Connect event before too long.
Yeah, lovely.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Thank you so
much. Have a lovely weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.